Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today, as you can see, we are doing a fantasy mock draft. I'm using ESPN for this, not sponsored or anything, but it was just the easiest to set up, so that's why we're here. I'm hoping that at least just some of these guys show up, because I don't want it to be an entirely auto-drafted mock draft. That kind of ruins the fun a little bit, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. As you guys can probably see already, I have the 9th overall pick, which I'm perfectly fine with. I don't really like being at the top of the draft order for fantasy football. I know the very first league I won back in 2016, I had the 1st overall pick, but I think that's like the last time I've ever willingly been the 1st overall pick, because back then the way we did it was the order gets to choose where they draft. So I was 1st in the order and I chose the 1st overall pick because it was my first time playing fantasy. But the draft is now underway. I expect Ja'Marr Chase will be the 1st pick. In most of the mock drafts I've done, that's exactly what's happened. Which is perfectly fine. Their defense sucks in Cincinnati. They're going to throw the ball a lot. So it makes perfect sense. This is also a PPR, points per reception, mock. And Bijan Robinson is actually the 1st taken, followed by Saquon Barkley. Ja'Marr Chase goes at 3rd. That is an absolute steal. That I cannot believe what I just saw there. That's actually kind of crazy. It's a PPR league too, as I was just saying, and Ja'Marr Chase goes at the number 3 pick. That guy must be absolutely elated by the turn of events there, and I think this guy might end up getting an auto draft of Justin Jefferson here. Yes, indeed. Which, happens from time to time. These are just mock drafts. They're not super serious or anything. Jahmyr Gibbs at number 5, CeeDee Lamb, Christian McCaffrey. This is like a weird kind of setup here. I haven't seen this order yet. At number 9, I didn't really expect Amon-Ra St. Brown to be here at this pick. Malik Neighbors is also here. Brian Thomas Jr. I could go Ashton Genty, but I'm not really feeling that. I think I'm going to go Malik Neighbors. I know it says questionable on his player card there, but I'm really not too fussed about that. It's very early on right now. We haven't even had the first week of preseason. We had the Hall of Fame game on Saturday, but we're still very early on into the process of the start of the season, and I'm not, too concerned about things now unless it's like long-term ligament damage and that kind of thing. So as far as I'm aware, Malik Neighbors is just dealing with some general soreness, and I'm completely unfazed. Coming up now in our 2nd round pick here, there are a lot of options I like here. A lot of options. Jonathan Taylor, I think, will have a fairly solid season, considering their quarterback situation is not great. I think they're going to run the ball a lot in Indy. Bucky Irving had a great year last year. I don't know if he'll completely repeat it, but I have been drafting Bucky Irving a lot, so give me Bucky Irving as our 2nd pick. And then it gets kind of hazy here soon with, projected value and stuff. We do have the top echelon of quarterbacks coming up as well. The Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, and then to maybe a lesser extent Joe Burrow. And I don't really ever go for that. I don't really build my teams around having a top 5 fantasy quarterback. I think that's a very specific way that you have to play in order to pull that off, because if you do take one of the top 5 quarterbacks, you're kind of sacrificing a bit of depth on the rest of your roster, and you can only have one quarterback playing at a time. And they are very good, right? Like Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, incredible fantasy assets, but I don't really subscribe to the philosophy that it's enough to build a team around. So I think these are more luxury picks than anything else, and I like to have a more well-rounded kind of roster. So not for me, I think. George Kittle at pick 2 in the 3rd round, I think is a solid pick. Where did Brock Bowers go? Pick 10 of round 2. That's actually really high, I think, for Brock Bowers, at least that I've seen. I usually see him go in like the middle of the 3rd. At least in 12-man leagues, which is what I am doing here because this is the format that I play, not necessarily PPR. I usually do half PPR, which is a half point per reception, obviously. I think it's the most balanced version of fantasy. But Ladd McConkey is a solid pick in the 3rd round. I really like Ladd McConkey this year for sure. T. Higgins I'm not super sold on, even though the Bengals are going to pass a lot, but I not really sold on that. There are some options here that I like. I like JSN, despite having Sam Darnold as his quarterback and maybe a questionable offense. I like JSN a lot. I like Garrett Wilson again, despite quarterback questions. I am going to take a long shot, actually, on this and draft Amarian Hampton. He's playing in a Jim Harbaugh offense. They're going to run the ball a lot. They've built that offensive line to sustain the run. Amarian Hampton is also a very physical player, very solid prospect. I think if you're going to think about drafting Ashton Genty as early as Ashton Genty is projected to go in a lot of fantasy leagues, I think you're honestly much better off going for Amarian Hampton later for very similar benefit. And one of the surefire ways to win your fantasy leagues is to hit on rookies, right? Like, especially rookie wide receivers. If you can get the prediction right, if you can predict who is going to pop off as a rookie wide receiver and draft them in like the 8th, 9th, 10th round, that's just free value. So it is a bit of a long shot. It's a bit wilder than I've kind of been in a lot of my mocks. But I see the upside for sure. I really like Amarian Hampton, and I think the Chargers are going to run the ball like an absolute madman. And the way my team is built right now, I only have Malik Neighbors as my receiver. The way the board is falling with Kenneth Walker and Alvin Kamara right here, and Breece Hall, and Chuba Hubbard, and to a lesser extent, I guess, James Conner, I think I'm going old school with this and going like just pure running back. And I think Kenneth Walker just goes, which is fine. I want a running back that catches passes, obviously, so it's either Alvin Kamara or Breece Hall. And I think because of the age difference, I think I'm going to go Breece Hall. I don't think Breece Hall is ever going to have the season that he had a couple of years ago. Let me see if I can see this. I guess it was in 2023. But the season he had where he was just absolutely going crazy with his production, I don't think that's going to happen again. But he is a very good player, for sure. And as my running back 3 in the flex spot, the value there is pretty unprecedented, honestly. And Alvin Kamara goes right after. So I think we really profited there off of just the way that the board was falling. And that's kind of how you have to play it. Yeah, we might look a little weak at wide receiver, but I mean, Bucky Irving and Brees Hall alone, very, very solid. Amarian Hampton with the upside, like, I like where this is at right now. I probably am going to go wide receiver here with my next pick. I could also go for a tight end because it gets pretty bleak there. And I think, honestly, that is what I'm going to do because I pick again 6 picks after this. And there are plenty of wide receivers here I see that I think have a lot of value. And I can't quite say the same about the tight end position, so I think this will be a tight end pick for me as long as this pick here goes well. And it did. It fell exactly as I wanted it to, so we're going to take Sam Laporta. And again, this is not how I normally draft. This is just kind of how the draft is falling for me. I usually go very, very heavy on wide receiver in any kind of PPR league, even if it's full PPR or half PPR. I am always going super hard on wide receiver. I know, like, pass-catching running backs have huge value in PPR leagues, but normally I go super, super heavy on wide receiver, especially wide receivers that don't have a lot of competition behind them, like Malik Neighbors. So I feel pretty good where I am with that currently. But looking at how this is starting to go, we really gotta get someone, because this is looking not great, to be honest. I mean, Xavier Worthy, I like in concept, but I have no idea what the Chiefs are gonna do this year. If it's gonna be like Xavier Worthy is the one, Rashee Rice. No idea what that is going to look like. George Pickens I kind of like, just because I think the Cowboys are going to be passing the ball a lot because their run game is terrible. He's clearly the second option, though, so I think I might pass there. I think I'm actually going to throw a Hail Mary at Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy really started to pick up steam last year. I know the quarterback situation is god-awful, but I'm not really sold on... I think it's Cedric Tillman is their other wide receiver. I don't think I can actually see on this. No, but I think Jerry Jeudy is fine. I think we're probably going to be drafting a lot of these kind of wide receivers where it's like, I don't really know what else is there kind of thing, or just like really, really heavy on pass-first offenses. So like the Vikings, the Cowboys, the Patriots I don't really think are going to be very pass-heavy. The Packers I don't think will be very pass-heavy. The Chiefs definitely aren't a super offensively... Well, maybe kind of, but I don't know. I don't see it for the Chiefs. I think they're going to try to run the ball a lot, even if, like, I'm not the biggest fan of their running back situation either. But we'll see. I'm not seeing any running backs that really strike me as must-grabs here. Chris Olave could have some serious upside if we can get him. Not that, like, the Saints are super, heavy passers or anything, but, like, is Rashid Shaheed really gonna compete for targets? Like, they don't have a lot behind him. Jordan Addison, I think, will have a very stellar year this year. Even if he does get suspended for a couple games, I'm not super worried about that. He's been a very consistent player in fantasy. I think, like, super undervalued, too, by a lot of fantasy people. I think it's either going to be Jordan Addison or Chris Olave here at the next pick. Travis Hunter also interests me a little bit, but Liam Cohen did like to pass the ball a lot, though. So, like, Travis Hunter could be really, really good. I think I'm going to go Jordan Addison. I think it's the safest bet for a third wide receiver here. But, I could be completely wrong. I could be entirely wrong. And then, of course, you get into, like, super weird situations where it's, like, Khalil Shakir and Keon Coleman, and it's like, the Bills are really good. Like, they have a really solid offense. It's just, I don't like either of these guys, really. Like, I don't know what's... I don't know who the one is here. I think it might be Khalil Shakir for, like, half the year. It might be Keon Coleman for the other half. It's just, it's weird, right? So, that's a bit... So Chris Olave and Travis Hunter are still here. I like Chris Olave a lot. I loved him coming out of the draft. I thought he was going to be the best wide receiver in his class. He hasn't really lived up to that because of health reasons. I'm going to take a swing on Travis Hunter just because why is he still here, right? It's Travis Hunter. He's a ridiculous prospect. I think they're going to play him more as a wide receiver. I think he will play both ways, but I think they're going to try to turn him into like a slot corner just so it's not like a full-time deal on the other side, right? Like, I think it's going to be a wide receiver slot corner kind of thing for Travis Hunter. I think. I haven't really read the reports, again, just because it's like still super early on in the process, so could be completely off base there, but that's just the way that I see it right now. But Travis Hunter, I think, is a very interesting, very, very interesting player. Don't know what he's going to be. But, again, like I said earlier, one of the easiest ways to win in fantasy is to hit on the rookies. And there's another rookie that I want to target later on in the draft for another wide receiver spot. So I think we're going to be looking for running backs here at this next pick. And at this point in the draft, if you're new to fantasy and you're at, like this mid-section of the draft between rounds like 10 and 12 and maybe even all the way into 13, like, this is where you can kind of start to ignore the ADP, the average draft position of these kind of players, and just, start taking swings on guys that you think are going to be solid players. So we're going to look to running back here. I'm not super sold on a lot of what I'm seeing here. Quinshon Judkins is an absolutely do not draft for me because he is still unsigned by the Cleveland Browns. There is no guarantee whatsoever that he's even going to play this year. Jordan Mason, no. Austin Eckler, Tyjae Spears, like, a lot of these are backup running backs. I think my best bet is to try and predict who the full-time 3-down back is for the Jaguars, and I think that's going to be Tank Bigsby. Could be entirely wrong. It could be Travis Etienne Jr., but from the way that things sound, I don't know that that's the case. I think we're probably going to see Etienne moved off of the team. So, and they went back-to-back, so that's pretty funny. My next pick is going to be another running back, and I think it's either going to be like Braylon Allen, because I think he's a really solid player. I don't think he's going to have the receiving upside as Breece Hall, but I already have Breece Hall, so give me the stack. I'm going to take the stack, Braylon Allen and Breece Hall. I do have a lot of Week 9 and Week 8 bye weeks here. That's something I'm starting to notice. But I'm also not overly concerned about bye weeks. Like, one week, one loss is not going to break your season in fantasy. And, like, the most important thing to win a fantasy league is just to make it to the playoffs, right? And I'm not as concerned about bye weeks as I used to be. It's not a big deal to me personally. If that's something that, you as a player are concerned with in your strategies, go ahead and, adjust accordingly. But that's, I'm just not worried about that kind of thing. Now, one thing I will say about fantasy is you don't need a backup tight end. You just don't need a roster spot dedicated to a tight end that's probably not going to get a lot of playing time for you. But Colston Loveland is a guy I'm trying to get in as many leagues as I possibly can. I think Colston Loveland is going to be an absolute demon for the Bears. And I'm trying to talk myself out of picking that. I want to check and see. I think I missed... Yeah, I missed a Emeka Ibuka going when I was drafting those running backs. So the rookie I'm trying to get every year, or every league this year, is Emeka Ibuka. I think he's going to be very, very good. That's out of the running now. I don't need a backup tight end. I'm going to take Marvin Mims Jr. I think he really picked up steam last year. I think he's going to be a very good player here very, very soon for the Denver Broncos. So I might regret that. Not that this is an actual league that matters to me. But Marvin Mims, I can definitely see some very solid upside. Now, let me take a look here. Cedric Tillman is still here. I like Cedric Tillman. What are we looking at on quarterbacks? Do I need to... I think I'm fine, honestly. I don't value quarterback very highly in fantasy, just because there are a billion of them that are good fantasy assets, even if they're bad players. So I am going to take Cedric Tillman. I think it's another one of those things where it's like, it's just an upside guy, you know? I already have Jerry Jeudy. I may as well have his second player, just in case I'm wrong, you know? So we got some solid backup options here. We haven't diversified at all. We're picking from the same teams, but that's fine. I'm not super concerned about that. So depending how these next picks go, I'm either taking another running back or wide receiver, or I'm taking my quarterback. And there are a lot of quarterbacks that I have on my list that are these are good fantasy players. Tua, even with his health issues, is a good fantasy player. Drake May, I think, is going to be very good this year. Never mind. CJ Stroud is fine. Cameron Ward, I think, could be good. Geno Smith is also good. Anthony Richardson, if he plays a full season, is a good fantasy asset. But I think I am going with CJ Stroud. I was really hoping Drake May made it to me. I maybe have pushed that window a little too far in waiting to get a quarterback, but again, I am not overly concerned about the quarterback position. I usually draft a quarterback in round 11, 12. It's not a huge deal for me personally. And CJ Stroud is a fine asset, right? I'm not going to be upset that CJ Stroud is the quarterback I have on my team. You know? Is he the best option? No, obviously, but I think he's perfectly fine. So there are some teams here drafting defenses. I think it's insane. I don't see why you're drafting a defense this early, honestly. I think is Dylan Sampson still here? No, he's not. We're running out of time. Give me wide receiver. Give me Romeo Doubs. Romeo Doubs, I think, is the wide receiver 2 in Green Bay. I think Jaden Reed being drafted as highly as he is pure copium. He's barely getting snaps in practice. I think he might even be a trade candidate. I am completely unsold on him as a player. So I think it'll be Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Matthew Golden. In what order, I'm not sure yet, but I think those will be the top 3 wide receivers for the Green Bay Packers. Now we can draft a defense. And there are some options here I really like. The Buccaneers are still here. The Giants are still here. The Jets are still here. Is the Rams still here? Let's see. Rams. The Rams are still here, and I am going to take... The Chiefs are still here, too, actually. Give me the Chiefs. The Chiefs have a really good defense. I don't know why teams are drafting the Steelers over the Chiefs. It makes no sense to me whatsoever why that's even a thing. The Chiefs are a really good defense. The Rams are a really good defense. The Vikings are a really good defense. It's confusing to me. And then your last pick, if you are forced to take a kicker, your last pick in the draft should always be a kicker. You do not need to take a kicker any higher than round 16. They are completely replaceable. It does not matter who your kicker is. There may be one kicker in the entirety of fantasy every year that makes any meaningful difference whatsoever to your roster. You don't need to draft a kicker any quicker than round 16. Alliteration aside. That's not alliteration. I don't know what I'm saying. Anyways, this has been a fantasy football mock draft for the 2025 NFL season. I'm probably going to do some more of these at some point. Maybe not on this channel, maybe over on TikTok. I don't know quite yet. This is kind of an experiment for me. So, I hope you did enjoy. I hope to speak with you all again soon. And as always, goodbye for now.